stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, begin with roll call.
Board President Roger Florkowitz.
Present.
Vice President Tim Arvanitis.
Present.
Secretary Paul Petrie.
Here.
David Tarosi. Here. Tom Folk.
Here.
Attorney Christian Bartholomew.
Here.
Fire Chief Robert Patterson.
Here.
Deputy Fire Chief David Meyer.
Here.
Recording Secretary Jen Schtel. Here.
All right, moving on for approval of minutes from the last meeting. To hear a motion regarding approval of the minutes.
So moved.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes unanimous. All right, moving on to old business.
Correspondence?
Oh, correspondence?
No correspondence.
No correspondence. Okay. Now moving on to old business. First item, would you like to address item A as far as the update?
Yeah, so item A, as of December 3rd, Mr. Jenkins turned in his letter of resignation. So we accepted that yesterday.
And that pretty much resolves the matter at that point. So we were set for a formal hearing. It's a moot point now. That's that.
All right. Okay, moving on to item B, the Pulido personnel update. If we could have step up and give us an update on the current status.
So last time we spoke, you guys were asking about me getting my EMT recerted and where I was. I did get reinserted through Indiana. I sent that paperwork to my chiefs. Also, I did have my surgery on the 12th, and I've been continuously studying in hopes that if you guys extend me the 90 days, I can actually take my last 3 attempts. And when it's proper, if I could read something I wrote down for you guys. I'm not really used to this, so I don't know when it would be proper.
That's fine. Are there any questions anyone has here before we allow the statement to be read?
The only thing that I would point out is, we're not here today for any sort of formal hearing or decisions. So we don't want to consider evidence today. But if he's got something that he'd like to present, that should be fine.
Okay.
I wouldn't right now then, because if there's a hearing, then you're pleading in the case. This is just we're asking for the 90 days because of the situations that.
I guess I do have one question for the chief. And we verified that as far as the state submittals for the EMT certification, everything, you guys
Yes, we have. Yep.
You guys are fine
Everything
with all
is-
that? Okay.
Correct. Yep.
Okay.
I'd like to just wait to read my statement then.
Okay.
I'm sorry, what did he say? I'm sorry, what did you say? I apologize.
I'd like to wait to read my statement then.
Gonna wait.
Fair enough.
Okay. Any other questions from the board?
No.
Anyone? Chief, anything there?
None.
Okay. All right. I guess the question now is, last time we had discussed a delay, and there was a request to be made for that. I think we need to take up that issue because we have now hit that timing as of today.
He wanted to read a statement.
He pulled back.
Oh, okay, I'm sorry, I was talking.
Yeah, he said he was
My
going to
apologies.
wait to read it.
Okay.
Yeah, the last month, we tabled the issue. The only thing that we were considering is, at that time, was scheduling for the actual hearing. So we're back at that point today, and really the only question is, if he's asking for more time, obviously the board has done that by agreement before. That would be an option. If the board would like to go ahead and schedule the hearing, that's the other option.
I guess that is the question. So now pending, you are requesting an additional time to complete your training for well, not the EMT, but for the paramedic certification.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
How much time are you requesting?
I'm going to allow him to speak for me.
Jacob Thornton, I'm his union representation. I spoke to you guys about Tim Jenkins as well. Just to be clear, his statement was more for the hearing. That's what he was on the assumption of, and it's to kind of plead his case. We are requesting the 90 days that was allowed to Tim Jenkins as well. His situation is a little bit different. He has had time off in intensive recovery facilities where he was not allowed material to study. He was not allowed his cell phone, a computer, anything like that. So his time frame compared to the other two, the other two has been significantly shortened and hindered due to his one physical and mental injuries that he's sustained while on the job.
I think that the question that we had come up with last time was the actual amount of time that was off versus the 90 days. 90 days was more than the time that was off, and if it was 6 weeks or 8 weeks, we had kind of discussed that that potentially would be the amount that, of the actual, to offset that from a fairness standpoint and not just go right to 90. Any other comments or questions regarding that from the board?
I'm not sure what I should be asking and not asking.
So how often can he when can he take the exam again, and how often can he take it?
Are you ready for another exam?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay. So he can start scheduling his exams at any point right now. And once you take a test, I believe you have to wait 2 weeks before you can schedule the next one.
And he has how many opportunities?
He has 3 left.
3?
Okay. But you've yet to schedule that next test. Do you feel prepared at this point to sign up and take the test, or are you expecting to need additional time to study?
He's prepared to take the test.
Okay.
Chief, don't answer this if you can't in open, in the public here. If any extension that we give him, does this handcuff you in regards of personnel?
Well, it always hinders on staffing, absolutely. But I don't know where he's at with this testing. I know after your 3rd attempt, you have to take a remediation class. So I don't know if he's done that in the process of that. And that's, I don't know what time frame that is also, because there's a certain number of hours that you have to put in for remediation too.
His remediation has been completed, so he is ready to schedule the tests.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman, I am very much in favor of giving this young man more time. I've heard his story. I understand what he's been through, and I think that he's salvageable, and I think he's worthy of being a Schererville firefighter. Maybe I'm feeling kind of special because it's the holiday season, but I want to fight for you. I do. I want to grow this department, 1 for every 1,000. I've been saying that from day one. So, but don't make us look bad. That's all I'm saying. My vote is to give you more time, but I'm only one person. All right. I want you to win. I want you to succeed. I want the fire department to be the best department in the state. All right. It starts with you. So if my colleagues here agree to that, then get on it, man. You got to win this thing. Okay? Get healthy and get ready to be a firefighter for the best town in the country.
Any other comments? Questions?
Make a motion to extend it to 90 days.
I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Unanimous.
Thank you very much, guys.
Okay, one point of clarification with that, then that will then table anything from a disciplinary status and scheduling a hearing until after the 90 days has elapsed.
Yeah, that's right. Basically, what we would do is, we would look at, 3 meetings out, and at that time, we'd reconvene for status and
then
figure
decide
out if we
then
need to
figure out
schedule
if
the
we need to schedule a
disciplinary hearing
Okay.
at that point.
All right, great. All right.
And in the meantime, if he passes his test between now and then,
In the meantime, if he passes his test, he can come back to, he can report that to chief, and whenever he passes the test, he could come back at the next meeting and say, hey, I've passed it, and chief could present any recommendation he has at that point.
Right. Right, because there could still be disciplinary actions regarding that, because, of course, there was a delay and it didn't hit that point, but we will take it one step at a time. All right. Moving on to continuing review of the Merit Board rules, which there were some handouts put forth.
There is, and I know this has been a long time in coming, but what you have in front of you are 2 items, one of which is a memorandum from Town Attorney Dave Austin, and that was his analysis of various points of the Merit Board rules and recommendations. And then the other document that you have in front of you is a markup of the current rules with certain items that I have, or that I am recommending be changed. Some of those will resolve issues that were raised by Attorney Austin's memorandum. There may be a few issues that we still need to address in study session. If you look through Attorney Austin's memorandum, one of the issues that he raised was, for example, the use of third-party vendors for the testing process. I did not make any direct changes in the rules on that item because I think that's a little bit more complex. That really calls for some discussion by the board. The rules that you have in front of you, I've tried to resolve any small typographical issues. I've added some information, for example, between the time the rules were passed and now. We've had some discussion about part-time firefighters, and right now the Merit Board statute and the rules were really written to deal with full-time firefighters, so I added some language just clarifying that these rules right now are not meant to deal with part-time firefighters. They're not eligible for promotion and many of the things that the rules actually address. We've had discussions about time for promotions in the past. The rules set up a rubric for how firefighters are to be considered for promotion. However, if you look at the statute and the way that's structured, it seems pretty clear that that's really meant to consider promotions in position. So you're going from, I don't know, a lower position maybe to being promoted to assistant chief or something like that. And that's a competitive process, but these time promotions that are granted are normally for my understanding, the firefighters that are entry level, and after a certain period of time, they get a pay bump. And they're called something different, but their job duties don't change at that point. So I've added some language to clarify that time promotions, which my understanding is they really only occur during that first firefighter 1 to 2, or 2 to 1.
Probationary, third class, second class, and first class.
Right. That these rules don't, and the competitive processes really are not applicable for just those pay bumps. They're meant to consider people for competitive rank promotions. Additionally, I've adjusted some smaller items that were raised by Attorney Austin, such as timing of meetings. The original rules stated that the meetings could be canceled if there was no business, and Attorney Austin correctly pointed out that the statute just says we meet every 30 days. So I amended the rules to reflect that. It's probably a little up in the air as to what we do, for example, on a month where there are no agenda items at all. I know most boards with the town would cancel the meeting in those circumstances. The way the new rules would read is simply to state that there's supposed to be a monthly meeting. Then I suppose if you guys wanted to cancel any particular monthly meeting that had been scheduled, that would be at your
Comes
discretion.
back to the question, I think, of, what's the penalty and what does it mean if you don't have the meeting? So yes, you're supposed to have it, but if you don't, then what is really the consequence of that? So-
Right, and there's no real guidance there if there's no business before the board, but I've made some changes.
I did like separating it from the reference to the Board of Safety meeting where we had said we were going to be subsequent to the timing of the Board of Safety. And since it has nothing to do with the Board of Safety, it's better to make it clear that we stand on our own.
Right, and that, I took that out. I guess the assumption is, since everybody's here for the Board of Safety meetings, that we would continue to schedule them coupled with the Board of Safety meetings. However, there's no obligation to do that. So I made that clarification. Some small changes about, for example, the age of the firefighters. I cleaned up the language there a little bit to make it conform to the statute a bit more, which does set age limits, but it also specifies that if someone has previously been an employee of the department, those age limits do not apply. So the new language is just a bit clearer on that. I added a line that clarifies that applications to the department will be filed with the board. I don't think that was in the original set of rules, but this just clarifies that they should be filed with the board. Made some corrections for typos in the statutes that were cited, that were pointed out. One area that's probably going to need a little bit of discussion, perhaps it's in a study session, would be if you look at Section 4, that's appointment to the department, Part D. That portion, D, and actually it's E. It was D, now it will be E. But that portion describes the testing process for onboarding new firefighters. And the statute sets out basically a two-tier process whereby there's a general aptitude test. For us, that general aptitude test has two parts, an oral component and a written component. We have a passing score that was designated in the rules for the written component. We did not state a passing score for the oral component, but one thing that Attorney Austin had pointed out was the way the rules were previously structured. It said that the general aptitude test, the folks that were had the highest scores on that would then proceed to the oral interview portion. The way the statute sets it out is slightly different, and the statute basically says that upon successful completion of the general aptitude test, then the applicants would be submitted to the board, the board would review that initial part of the general aptitude test, so the oral and the written component. And the board at that point can look at those results and say, well, we don't think that this person or that person is qualified based on the scores they obtained, which would potentially weed some folks out. Anyone who is qualified would be eligible, not just the highest ranking people, but anyone who is qualified would be eligible to take the oral portion of the test afterwards, which is kind of that second tier of evaluation that's provided in the statute. That's for less tangible items. The applicant's presentation, I believe the statute mentions their reputation, things like that are best tested for the oral portion. And any qualified applicant based on that first round would be eligible for that oral component. And I've added a line there that talks about then a passing score on the oral component would be X. I don't know what you guys will want that to be. We have a scoring rubric for the oral test, but based on the statute, I think that in order to most closely comply with it, we should assign a value for that, and that could eliminate a few people at that stage. Once the candidates have gone through both tiers of that, then their name would be added to the certified list that goes to the safety board. And just to be clear, we still would be considering the applicants based on kind of a ranked scale, but the difference is instead of weeding them out after the general aptitude test, they would go on the list, but they would be considered on that list on the basis of their scores. So the procedure would look a little bit different. It wouldn't be a whole lot different. Again, I wouldn't expect anybody to make any decisions tonight. We're just discussing it. But that was a change that I believe could have a substantive impact that we should consider moving forward. Just going down the list further on here, we clarified that upon the occurrence of a vacancy, so once you've got that list in place and you've got a vacancy that comes up, then the chief would be submitting a written request to the board to actually place new firefighters from the certified list. That's provided in the statute and was recommended by Attorney Austin. Just rolling down, I think I already mentioned the time promotion element, and it's essentially a clarification of definitions on what we consider a promotion. So I added some language there specifying that the time promotions are not really being considered as a promotion for the purpose of the rules. Let's see, moving down the list even further, when we get to Section 8 on disciplinary actions, Part B specifically, I shuffled some of the language around there pertaining to how the Schererville personnel policy manual applies to firefighters. And again, this would be a good topic for discussion, but Schererville does have a set of rules for all personnel of the town, and the statute has a list of reasons why a firefighter could be disciplined. That list does not align perfectly with the personnel policies in the town of Schererville. The way the rules were set up previously is to kind of incorporate those personnel policies for the town by reference into the firefighter disciplinary standards. I've tried to maintain that to the extent possible by adding some language that states that the town policies are to be considered essentially general orders of the department. Chief could chip in when we get into the meat of discussion on that issue, but one of the grounds for discipline that's provided for in the statute is not following orders. Well, if we consider the town personnel policy to be orders of the department, I think that could bring everything into alignment. And just to be clear, when I reviewed the town policies, I don't think there's anything in those town policies that explicitly contradicts what the merit board statute provides. It's just a matter of bringing them together to the extent possible.
Recognized.
Yeah. And to the extent that the statute and our rules call for additional due process above and beyond what the town personnel policies would ordinarily call for, we're going to go with that higher standard that's provided for in the statute. We don't have a choice. That's what the statute says. So I think this might help to clarify how those town rules get into the mix. I've added just a little bit of language, again, clarifying that if the chief exercises his authority as chief of the department to give discipline that does not require the merit board's involvement, there is an appeal procedure for that. And if, for example, chief gives somebody a 3-day suspension based on his own authority, which he's allowed to do, if somebody has a problem with that and wishes to contest it, then they can file a request for review, and that would come before this board. The new language doesn't really change that process. It just makes a little bit clearer that that's what's going on. Some additions, just to clarify, not change anything, but the fact that the probationary members of the department are subject to the 6-month review that all the rest of the members get, the performance review. And then when it comes to distribution of the rules in Part 14, previously I had it set forth that the town council and town clerk would get copies of those rules. Nothing prevents us from doing so, but the statute doesn't require it, so we don't really have to have that in the rules. Those are the basic changes that I've made. I know I just got that to you guys today, so I want to make sure you have sufficient opportunity to review everything, and if we want to set a study session to discuss the particulars, whether you guys like the changes, don't like the changes, want additional things to be in there, then we can do that in study session.
Yeah, I agree that we need to pick a date for a study session. With the holidays, it's going to be a little bit more open to who's going to be available in those time. But do we have any suggestions for dates that would work? Do we want to put it till after the next meeting?
Yeah.
So
Put it in
middle of January at some point?
Yeah.
Because I think trying to schedule something between now with Christmas and New Year's before the next meeting is going to be impossible.
Nearly impossible. Yeah.
Agreed.
So Tim, what is your schedule like for the middle of January?
For you guys, wide open.
Me too.
Does anybody have any restrictions? Long family vacation, anything? Nope. Okay.
Let's pick one of the Thursdays after the January meeting.
Now, are we gonna move our meeting to the 8th? of January instead of the 1st?
I assume so. I don't even think
I don't know
Tom
if
did.
everybody was here for the previous meeting, but since we have been doing things in alignment with the safety board, there was some discussion by the safety board. The first Thursday of the month would fall on January 1st. Obviously, that's no good, unless I suppose you want to bring your champagne, and nobody wants to do that. The safety board did not set a hard meeting date. I would imagine that's going to be coming out sometime in an email from them. We could look out for what they're doing, or we could go ahead and set something on our own. I don't know if we want to get into a battle with them over the use of the room.
Would we like to schedule, does it work for everyone to do a study session after the next formal meeting, if we choose the 8th, and then just extend it for an hour after that to do the study session?
Yeah, that's fine.
I
Does that
agree.
work with
I
everyone?
prefer that.
All right, can I hear a motion regarding that?
Motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries unanimous. Okay, so we've got a meeting scheduled for January 8th at 5:30, immediately following a study session to review the proposed merit board rules, at which time then we will make a decision on language for the merit board, and then come back for the following meeting to approve those, and then allow the timing for them to be posted at the town for a public hearing. Is that correct, the process?
Yeah, that's basically the process. The only thing that I would call you out on there is no decision will be made at the study session. It will
Right,
just
we
be
just-
studied, and then when we come back to.
Yeah, we make changes to the language at that point. so-
Right. And when we come back to the, I guess it would be the February meeting, hopefully if everybody's on the same page with changes, revisions, et cetera, we can provisionally approve the draft, and then I can publish probably for the next meeting after that, so that it can be passed at a public hearing.
Okay.
Does the study session include someone from the administration?
Anybody who is relevant and feels like they ought to be there for the discussion.
someone be there?
Yep, we'll be there.
So I could see questions we need for you.
Right, yeah, we'll be there. What we'll do is also check with the town to make sure the 8th is available for us, and then we have to come up with a time also. If the Board of Safety folds, usually we would be 5:30 or whatever time after their meeting.
Right. Yeah, so tentatively, I've identified the 8th at 5:30, so if we could verify that. And if it is, just, go into the email list and let us know. We can adjust and move times if needed.
We'll do that.
Okay. Moving on to item D for old business, update on full-time firefighter EMT hiring status.
Yes, so all the paperwork has been submitted to the state for review, so we are just waiting on that. With Thanksgiving falling after that meeting, it kind of threw it back a little bit, so paper was submitted immediately after our perf board meeting, and then now, as I stated, we're waiting for all that paperwork to be approved by the state, and then we'll be moving forward with hiring dates and that.
Okay, are there any other questions regarding the hiring? There's some questions regarding appointment of board members. Does anyone want to address that?
Christian, the point I was going to bring up was a procedure for how the members of our board are assigned to work in the hiring process. Would that be more of a rules and regulations type of thing as part of our, or is it, should it be moved to the study, brought up in the study session or brought up here?
I think it might be a good topic for this study session. My understanding, we don't have anything in the rules right now about that. We say, I think, 2 members will participate in the oral interview, well, both phases of the oral interview process, but we don't really specify how that is to be chosen.
Right.
I think that would be a good thing to have in our rules, probably to specify more clearly, because for any particular round of hiring, we only produce this list of qualified candidates. It's certified and it's good for the next 2 years. And there's only an opportunity for a couple of people to participate at different phases. So, yeah, that might be a good question is, if we're doing this in 2 phases and we have 2 members that are participating at each oral interview phase, should those be the same people? Should those be different people? Who gets to do that? How are they chosen? Right now, I think we've essentially done it on a volunteer basis, gentleman's agreement. I'm not aware of any rule or statute or standard that tells us how we have to do that. So I think that's a great thing to discuss.
I agree. If formalizing it does make sense.
When's the next stage? If we don't make any decision on this today and push it into the study session, does that hinder the process that we're currently in?
More than likely it will, yeah. And the reason why we keep everything consistent, so whoever's usually does the first part, we try to keep the same people just because consistency.
Okay.
So that you already know, and just kind of keeps it moving forward with the same people, so that, there's no trying to catch up on what they didn't know from the first interviews that were taking place. So it works out really well. I do believe that a process should be done for how you guys decide who on your board should be sitting in these things, however you guys want to determine. And it's probably good to put in the policy right along with it, so it's always there and consistent.
Since that's not required to be in the policy, though, I think in order to move things forward, I would recommend that we try to, identify, agree that the 2 members that are, do have the time available to make sure that they can do that, assist with the hiring process. And if that can be done volunteer basis and we can formalize it here and then move forward and then add that to a study session agenda item as well. Now, related to that, I did have one question. As we were just discussing, as Mr. Bartholomew had reviewed some of the proposed changes, does that affect how the third-party service, is it affected when you say, okay, now we're moving into the station? Right now, we say, we pick the list and then they move into the oral part. What he's proposing and what has been said by statute was that if they pass the written point, then they automatically move into that. Is there going to be billing issues or time constraints with that system moving to that position where everybody who finishes the written goes into the oral portion versus the way we're doing it now?
As far as billing for the
Yeah,
using
billing
the system?
or
No,
just
no,
the way
it-
the system would work is handling those registrations and the
Yeah, the
and
fee
tracking of that.
doesn't change once it's by number of people applied.
Okay.
And once, that's the only
And the
fee
system's
that's there.
capable
So
of
how long
tracking
it
it
takes or whatever.
regardless of how many people we have on that until
Right,
it's handed out to the final
Yeah, the
list.
fee is by how many applicants, that's it.
So, Chief, I did have a follow-up question for you with regard to that. So you said that right now you've taken the applications, right?
Yep.
Have they taken the tests already, or?
Everything should be done, and the board just, along with the perf board members that participated, have already done the recorded interview that was done and graded them and that. So now the next step is setting up the in-person interviews on what they select from that list.
So did we already have a round of, for the oral interviews that are considered part of the general aptitude tests that are part of that package, did we already have a round of merit board members that reviewed those and participated in the scoring process?
Yes.
Okay,
yes.
so
They
so that,
participated, and, yep, and that's why we're saying stay consistent. I think they were trying to set up dates for the interviewing in-person process.
And specifically, that was Mr. Petrie and Mr. Arvanitis, correct?
No,
Or Mr.,
Tim
Tarosi.
passed off to me.
oh, okay.
so
Mr. Tarosi. Okay.
has there been a list put together with the folks that have already tested and gotten scores and everything as we sit here today?
Proceed in the future in this study session.
I haven't seen the list. If they did, that's with the one Go ahead, I don't know.
There's not really a list. We had the 22 candidates that were broken up into two panels. So we had two members of the merit board, 2 members of our pension board, logged in online, reviewed everything, scored them. So as of right now, that's the only list we have. So it's not
Okay.
ranked, there's no ranking right now. Once they do the in-person interviews, then they'll score those, and then with the scoring rubric, they'll put together the final ranking of all the candidates.
My understanding of the way the statute's set up is, so you've got the oral interviews are separate from the general aptitude test. And I know that gets a little bit confusing because we've got 2 sets of interviews, one of which is part of that general aptitude test and one of which weighs all the other factors, right? The statute appears to grant the board the authority to, once that initial set is done, which I understand it to be at this point, to then accept all of those candidates, turn away some of those candidates. I think that panel should be submitted to the board for consideration.
How would that be if only 2 members are doing the scoring? If only 2 members are doing the scoring, how are all 5 going to judge?
So the 2 members do the scoring.
Yes.
And then, once they've done the scoring, you've got the written score, you've got the oral score. Then all the candidates that took the test, that list would come to the board, and they would have the choice, if they wanted to eliminate anyone that they did not feel was qualified at that stage. Maybe they would, maybe they wouldn't. Who knows? If they did eliminate any folks from that list, then those folks would not need to go on to the second oral interview process. Does
So
that
you're
make
saying
sense?
instead of leaving it to just the 2 board members being part of that decision-making tree, you'd have presented, those 2 board members' input would be presented to all 5 for
Correct.
a
Yeah.
group-level decision?
Yeah, so you've got essentially a 2-tiered process. You've got the 2 board members that are helping with the grading.
Yeah, more of a special committee that does that and then present it to the entire board afterwards. Again,
Exactly.
I think that, that makes sense for long-term. I think in order to avoid delays and move things forward at this point, since we've already started with the volunteer basis, I think at this point, it'd be great to add that in the future, but I don't think that we want to add that burden at this point. I think we need to move forward with the recommendations and the scoring.
And
Again,
believe
I'm unable to
on-
make a
once the
motion, but I would suggest that that would be the case in this case, to continue the hiring process as it is, using Mr. Tarosi and Mr. Petrie as the board members, come up with the scoring. Do I hear a motion for such?
Motion.
Any second?
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Discussion? Did you have something?
I was going to say, you kind of, it's, I don't know where that falls in the structure of the standards, but once the list is complete, the in-person, the online interviews, the in-person interviews, then the list comes to you for certification. Is that when then they could say, yeah, we're cutting these people out?
So,
Or does it have to be at a certain point in the process?
so this was kind of one of the amendments that would be clarified in the new set of rules. But the way the statute is written, the statute does not necessarily, it doesn't prohibit oral interviews as part of the general aptitude test. The statute basically says they shall take a general aptitude test. After they've taken that, the board can then consider the applicants and their scores, and they can drop people if they don't think that they're qualified. And then after that, they move to the stage of basically the oral interviews, considering all the other factors. And then after they've done the oral interviews, they are ranked based on their scores, and they go on the certification list. So what the statute does is it sort of just gives the board another opportunity to look at the test results after that first set of, written tests and interview tests are done, and say, do we think anybody should be dropped at this stage? And if they do, then they can make that call. And if they don't drop anyone, then you would move into the oral interview process. Does that clarify things? So all it does basically is it has one more step of board involvement between the time the formal oral interviews are conducted, well, between the time, I should say, that the oral portion of the test is graded and when the actual oral interviews are done.
I have a question from the chief now. According to the current standard and the way it's been done with the Board of Safety, without having the merit commission involvement and things, at what stage, with the 2 members present, would that list be put together, and would it just be automatically approved and moved in to a ranking list? What is the current step if we don't go to the all-board approval portion?
The way it was done before was the board, right after all the interviews were completed, they'd add up all the scores, tally up the percentages, rank them in the way that they scored out by the highest rank down, and that's how they'd present it to me, and then I would present that to the board for approval.
Just using the two people that are on the board to...
Yes.
for
The two from the board, 2 from the perf board. They do it all together. They all sit there in the room and they all go through it. They tally it up, make sure everybody agrees with all the numbers, and then that list's put together and presented to me.
My feeling at this point is, since we've started the process with that, to maintain the consistency of what we've got, and the 2 volunteers that have joined in that process already, it makes sense to continue that without involvement of the board, which gets back to the motion we started to vote. With that position, as we stick with the 2 volunteers, continue as the chief has just described that. We had made a motion to do it. It was seconded. How are the votes on this? Mr. Petrie?
Aye.
Mr. Arvanitis?
Aye.
Myself, aye.
All right.
Motion carries unanimously. We will continue with the 2 volunteers. After that list is compiled, as you just described, then it'll be presented to the board as a final list.
Yes.
Can I ask a quick
Appreciate it.
question,
Yep.
just to wrap my head around this process? The stuff that's been done already, there are already aggregate scores for everybody in that system, correct?
Yes, there is.
So that those could be presented,
You will see those at the in-person interviews.
okay.
The pension board secretary prints everything out, has a little packet for each applicant. So when the applicant gets there, you'll have time to review everything, kind of go through the scoring, read about their personalities, their personality traits and stuff that's on the test. So you have a chance to review each candidate individually.
And I think the downside is very little at this point, because if anything, compared to what Mr. Bartholomew just presented as the ability for the board to, nix one of the applicants, is that we have a slightly larger list of potentially available than if we went to the whole board. So I think that we're erring in the right direction at this point in order to keep the process moving and get those people hired.
Yeah, right now, basically what you're saying is we're not knocking anybody off of the
Right, we
the-
don't
the
have that
process.
veto as the board to knock it off.
Yeah, we're
gonna
not
take the
turning anybody
scores as they
down.
stand.
But you'll still have the opportunity to evaluate the full results, as long as, all right, so you're interviewing everybody at this point, is,
I believe so. That's
Yeah.
a question for those two, them and the pension board, but I would think they would do all of them.
I think that's the best route. Legally speaking, that would be, I think that would be Attorney Austin's recommendation from his commentary, and if you're conducting interviews for everyone, then basically the assumption is everybody on that list, at least for the time being, is considered qualified. And once you get the full results,
Then the list comes to
then
us
the
as
list
a board for
comes to
approval
you, and it would be certified to the safety board according to the scores. And then when it comes time for hiring, you're going to be looking at those scores anyway in making your hiring decisions and cherry picking from the top.
then. Right. Okay. Any other comments regarding that? Okay, moving on to new business. Anything from the fire department?
No new business.
Any reports from anyone?
If I could, I'd like to just report that this Saturday, we do have our annual food drive that we'll be hosting from 10 to 2 in the Strax parking lot this weekend. So I know Colin's been working really hard with getting this all put together, and I know he advised all our proceeds from this go straight to the St. John Community Center, and they have advised that they are having more families in need of the food and that from
Canned
this.
goods, non-perishable
Yeah,
items?
they've had a lot more families requesting services from them, so we're really looking for a lot of support to help them get the items that they're needing. So we appreciate any help.
What time?
It is 10 to 2.
Got it.
That's all I had.
And cash donations are also accepted?
Absolutely, they are, and that goes straight to them also.
Okay. All right. Any comments from any of the board members?
No, sir.
I'd just like to thank the board for having confidence in both Paul and myself to help choose the right candidates.
Absolutely.
We appreciate you guys doing it for us.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to, and I know he gets paid, and I know it's part of his job, but, you know, everybody deserves a thank you. And I'd like to thank Christian for doing all the work that he's done, being so fluent with the state law and having it presented the way you do. It's just amazing. Looking at these documents, hearing your presentation on everything, I'm just grateful to have you aboard. And thank you.
Yes.
I appreciate it. Let's hope we're doing it right.
Keep our fingers crossed. All right. Any business from the floor? Any comments? All right. Moving on for adjournment. Do I hear a motion?
Make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Meeting adjourned.
Merry Christmas.